In this lecture, we're going to continue discussing international trade. But in this lecture, we're going to discuss things such as imports and exports. So why do we trade? Why do we purchase goods from other countries? And why do we like selling goods to other countries as well? We said that exports are those things that we produce in the United States and sell abroad. The exports happen because either producer can sell them for more abroad, meaning if somebody makes certain goods and services and people abroad are willing to pay higher prices for those goods and services, it's really a good deal for a producer. He can make more money, more profit from selling goods abroad. Or sometimes firms can produce more than can be consumed at home. Some companies have capabilities of producing more that is required domestically, more than demanded domestically. As a result, they're looking for additional markets to sell their goods and services. Imports. Imports are those things that are produced from in other countries and consumed in the United States. So whenever you buy an imported TV, you buy a TV that was made in Japan, that's an import. And imports happen because some goods can't be produced at home at all. For example, it's going to be really difficult for, United States is a very big country, so we're pretty much capable of producing most things. But for example, in Canada, it would be really difficult for Canadians to consume some oranges or avocados. So they have to buy them abroad because simply they don't have resources to produce those goods. And some goods can be purchased for less abroad. That's an example of many Americans purchasing goods that were made in other countries. We are buying those goods because they're usually cheaper than if those goods were produced at home. So what are the advantages of trade? Trade is based on absolute and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage is the ability to produce more than the other country. So whenever we're talking about absolute advantage, we talk about country's ability to produce more. For example, United States can produce more of most goods than any other country in the world. And the reason for it is that just because United States is a great country and it's very big. We have a large population, large territory, so we're able to produce more than most countries in the world. Comparative advantage is a slightly different thing. Comparative advantage is the ability to produce at the lower opportunity cost. So we say whenever a country has a comparative advantage, they can produce goods relatively cheaper to the other countries. So if it's possible for a country to have absolute advantage in both goods, it's impossible for a country to have comparative advantage in all the goods. Why does it happen? Well, this idea comes to the idea of opportunity cost. We already talked about that in the beginning of the semester. We said opportunity cost is what you have to give up in order to get something else. So if we're producing one good, we cannot produce the other good to the fullest potential. We have to give up its potential, its production. So think about this. Think about farmers who want to produce corn and carrots. If the farmer decides to produce carrots, they cannot produce corn at the same field. So the more carrots they're growing, the less corn they're going to grow. So that's what absolute advantage means. How much of the other goods you given up in order to produce something else. So we say that countries specialize in production of goods in which they have comparative advantage. So we want to make sure that we are producing something where we have the lowest opportunity cost. So instead of producing everything, we want to produce one thing or several things and trade it for another or trade it for other things. So this is like one of those simplification of economic theory. A lot of times when we discuss in this comparative advantage, we make an assumption that the country produces only one good or only two goods. Of course, that's not the case in real life. So this statement about producing one thing, we can of course extend it to producing several things, but we want to make sure that we have comparative advantage in production of those goods. We know we specialize in trade every day in our lives. It creates great benefits for us. You don't do necessarily everything on your own. You don't cut your hair on your own. You don't grow your own carrots. You may not necessarily fully provide education to your kids. You do something where you have comparative advantage. You do something that you are best in. And by that, you are specializing. How do you get the other goods? You trade your talents for everything else. You go to work, you produce something, you receive income for it, and then you trade that money for something else. Countries are no different. Countries benefit from trade in exactly the same way. They specialize in what they do the best and then trade for the other goods and services using the profits they receive from the good they're specializing in.